All right, we're live. We'll call this meeting to order. Teresa, would you take the roll, please?
Absolutely. Trustee Burgo. Here. Trustee Gray. Trustee Johnson.
Here.
Trustee Young. Trustee Lazio.
Yes, here.
Trustee Lemunion. Trustee Pandolfi. Here. Trustee Stepp. Here. Trustee Thewas. Okay, he's here. Trustee Thompson.
Here.
Trustee Wilson. Here. And Trustee Wyckoff. Okay, we have a quorum. We have a quorum.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, so do you stand with me for the Pledge of Allegiance, please? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic which stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty, and justice for all. So I'm going to read a few passages of scripture out of the book of Ephesians, chapter 4, verses 1 through 3, and do a little exhortation out of those. And I'm just going to read those. So I, the prisoner of the Lord, appeal to you and I, to live a life worthy of the calling which you have been called, as to live a life that exhibits godly character, moral courage, personal integrity, and mature behavior. A life that expresses gratitude to God for your salvation, with all humility, forsaking self-righteousness and gentleness, maintaining self-control, with patience, bearing with one another in unselfish love. Make every effort to keep the oneness of the Spirit and the bond of peace, each individual working together to make the whole successful. So that's why we're here, is to build one another up, encourage one another with our words, with our actions, day by day, in all the library branches and HQ here, everywhere we come in contact with. And so as we navigate through this world today, it's very troublesome, to say the least. And this past week has been pretty traumatic for me personally, just and maybe many of you as well, just the tragic events that have taken place. So these three verses that I read really explain how to navigate through a world that's really difficult sometimes, to have conversations with people. And so I just want to encourage us all to help to navigate those times. Bring peace. Be a peacemaker. I'm a peacemaker. I love to be a peacemaker, and so I want to encourage all of us as well. So with our coworkers, the branches, everywhere we go, just be a peacemaker. And so let's pray. Father, thank you for your word. We thank you that you help us navigate through life, through thick and thin. Lord, we ask for humility. I need humility in my own life, and so I ask for that personally. It's one of my prayers every day. Forsaking self-righteousness and just being gentle with people, with patience, and bearing with one another unselfishly. So Lord, would you help me personally to do that? Would you help all of us to navigate that way every day of our lives? And I thank you, Lord. Amen. So we have approval of the agenda. We have a motion. Anybody? We have a second? All right, we have a motion and a second. Teresa, would you call the roll, please?
Trustee Burgo.
Yes.
Trustee Johnson.
Aye.
Trustee Young. Trustee Lazio.
Yes.
Trustee Lemunion. Trustee Pandolfi,
Aye.
trustee Step. Aye. Trustee Thewas, trustee Thompson,
Aye.
trustee Wilson, trustee Wykoff. Okay, the motion carries.
I have a approval, motion for the approval of the consent agenda. All right, we have a motion and a second. Take the roll, Teresa.
Trustee Burgo, trustee Johnson.
Aye.
Trustee Young, trustee Lazio,
Yes.
trustee Pandolfi,
Aye.
trustee Step. Yes. Trustee Thewas, trustee Thompson,
Aye.
and trustee Wilson. The motion carries.
So report of expenses, Jeremy, that you?
Yeah, that report, Michael, was part of the consent agenda. A report of expenses was part of the expense agenda, was part of the consent agenda, I'm sorry. So we're down to item 6, which would be the visitors' comments and recognition.
On item 6. Okay. On awards, recognition and guest presentation. We have 2 guest presentations today. We have Wade Freeman from Practice Strategic Planning Research Firm that's helping us with our strategic plan. We have Sherry Summers, who's representing Vocational Services, Inc. You guys want to flip a coin or? Sherry, why don't you come up and talk about the great work that you're doing there at the library?
Honored to be here. My name is Sherry Summers. I'm the Assistant Director of Vocational Services. In front of you, you have a packet of information, a folder that I will first tell you that the folder and all of its contents were produced by us. We have one of our services, one of our services is a print shop. So also taking an opportunity to show you that work. Vocational Services, our mission is to provide employment services for individuals with disabilities through different choices and community integration and employment opportunity. We have been serving the Northland for 60 years. We have 3 locations. We have a location in North Kansas City, just west of Chicken and Pickle. If you're familiar with Chicken and Pickle. And we have 2 locations in Liberty. Our primary locations provide on-site job training and employment. So individuals come to those locations and they are working on projects for local companies as well as some more international companies. You might be familiar with Granger Boulevard Brewery. Those are some of our larger customers. And then we also have a lot of entrepreneurial type of customers that we work with in a packaging type of environment. Individuals come to work in those locations, and while they're learning their job skills and trade, they're also earning wages. We also provide competitive employment. What you'll see in your folder is referred to as the CIE, and you'll see the orange button. That is Community Integrated Employment. What is really exciting, I think, about vocational services is that we've been doing this for these 60 years, and it's just progressed, and the quality has continued to grow with the individuals that we serve. And so one of the unique opportunities we had about 3 years ago was to start working with vocational rehabilitation, which, if you're not familiar, is the state agency that will fund services for individuals with disabilities and employment and other vocations, as well as education. Anyway, we are a partner with vocational rehabilitation. And as I was going into that, about 3 years ago, they offered us the opportunity to start working with them through summer work experience. The summer work experience is a little bit different than our typical programming in that we are serving students who are still in high school. During this last summer, it was juniors and juniors going into their senior year and sophomores going into their junior year of high school. This program, as we started 3 years ago, we started with one location, one job site, which was at the Fairfield Inn. It was a new build in the Northland, and so it made for a natural fit for us to go in and welcome them to our community and partner with them. We had one student on site that was working with the job coach, and from there, fast forward 3 years, we had 3 different sites in the communities and served 23 individual students in those 3 sites. The Metropolitan or Mid-Continent Public Library was one of those partners, and that's what I came to highlight tonight. You'll see that information in the orange handout specific to the summer program. So as I mentioned, we're partners with Missouri Vocational Rehabilitation. They are the funding source for this program. They provide this program so that we can offer work-based learning opportunities for the students and help them to engage and become members of their community through employment. So what we do as the rehab partner is provide that expertise or on-the-job supports. So at the library, at the Woodney location, we had a job coach that was working there with the students. Our program with Woodney, we were there 3 hours, Monday through Friday, with the students in the afternoons, from 1:30 to 4:30 in the afternoon. That time frame allowed us an opportunity to work with students on learning different types of skills, such as cleaning the computer screens, cleaning books, shelving books, and their favorite task was picking, being able to pull those books for orders. We received the pick list about 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and I can tell you every day by 3 o'clock we were done.
Wow.
And they were anxious for the next. They were really, that was interesting to them. Some outgrowth of that, we had a couple of students who became library patrons for the first time. And one student, in fact, joined one of the writers' workshops and got a book signed by an author. Was the highlight, I would say, of his summer.
Wow.
So you can see some of our things that we focused on as far as teaching teamwork, improving communication skills, working on problem solving, critical thinking, decision making. So as the students entered the program at the beginning of their 6-week session, they were really reliant on the job coach to direct. And in partnership with the library, Katie and her staff there at Woodney provided us a daily to-do list, if you will. And the job coach would offer up those assignments to the students. By the end of that 6-week period, the students were working as a team, dividing out their task list. They had figured out who does what best, and they were able to really communicate much better with each other. So we were seeing that growth over that 6-week period, which was very exciting. And I will tell you, for most of these students, it was their first work experience and first paychecks.
Wow.
They got paid every Friday that they worked, and that was an incredible thing for them. I had one student say to me as I sat down and was going through the pay stub with him, he said, "This seems so serious." And I said, "Well, you are paying taxes now." And he said, "Oh, it is definitely serious."
Yeah.
So, and we talked with them about what their goals were at the beginning of summer work with earning money. And some of them had some real hard concepts. You know, that was a hard concept to wrap their head around. But a student tell us that he wanted to have enough money to choose his own lunch when school started. And about halfway in, he realized he was going to have that and then some, you know, to plan for some other activities. So again, just seeing that growth over the summer is really neat. I have provided with you some pictures of the students at work at the library. So you can see as you look through there, we served a variety of students with differing abilities. We had, in the first session, as it just happened to turn out, we had 4 young men who worked in that first 6-week session, and they clicked. They're coming from different school districts, and met at the library, and I think they are forever friends, which was also a neat opportunity. And then in our second session, we had a mixed group of young men and women working together. I think the experience for the library staff as well as us was great. We had several check-in conversations with how the schedule was going, what can we do differently on both ends of that. Um, and so I think we learned a lot, and we're really looking forward to being able to partner next year and maybe even see some growth in this venture.
Absolutely. Yeah, Katie Schneider, the manager of Whitney, had nothing but great things to say about it. I think it was beneficial for everybody, staff and the young people that you brought on board. So we're very appreciative of your efforts, and it's hopefully we can continue on and expand this opportunity to other locations throughout our system. So thank you so much. If any of the trustees have questions, I'm sure Sherry would.
Ours is, yes. There are about 15 community rehabilitation providers similar to our program that's in Jackson, Clay, Platte counties. And so as you're looking at your library locations, I think we could probably find providers near the locations.
Yeah, that's the goal. I need to thank the HR department. Originally, this idea came from Trustee Johnson, and I reached out to HR to see if they had some existing relationships, and that's how we landed with Vocational Services, Inc. But again, we'll do more work to see if we can't expand throughout all three counties. Great job. Please thank everybody who worked for us. All right, so next up is Wade, who's with working with Praxis, and he's going to tell us a little bit about our strategic planning process, where we are today, and where we intend to go over the next couple months. We've had how many meetings so far? 2 or 3, I would say. A lot of back and forth. We're thinking about what data collection looks like for our strategic planning process. And I will turn it over to you, and you can just take it away.
Well, Aaron, thank you for the opportunity, and thank you to each of you as trustees for a bit of a chance to introduce myself, my firm, and our work. As Vocational Services was presenting, I was wishing I would have gone first because this isn't quite as compelling as real people having those work experiences, but I'll fearlessly proceed all the same. Just real quickly about the work that we're engaged in, our appeal to you as trustees, and then a little bit about Praxis and about myself. As Aaron mentioned, we're engaged in the portion of strategic planning, gathering information from stakeholders, users of the library, non-users of the library, community partners, and certainly yourselves as the important leaders, those guiding the direction of the Mid-Continent Library System. And we're gathering that information through one-on-one interviews, focus groups, and then also conducting surveys where everyone can have an opportunity to provide input, sharing perceptions, desires, needs that they have in their relationship to our wonderful library. The appeal to you all as trustees, your views on these matters are critical, and so the staff of the library will be reaching out to you to find a time that works for your schedules and a location that works for you as well, where either myself or my colleague, the founder of Praxis, will be working through a series of questions with you to gain your views so that those views are present right at the very beginning of the process. Just a little bit about Praxis. We're based in Kansas City, Missouri. We're regionally focused. Our areas of expertise lie in strategic planning. We also do feasibility studies for fundraising campaigns, and then we'll come alongside development staff in those campaigns. There's some cases also where we're involved more in the ongoing annual fundraising to fund operations. So the opportunity to work with the Mid-Continent Library was just wonderful for us because it fit exactly within your mission that's so compelling. And we believe that the ways that we gather information can be helpful to your staff leadership and yourselves as you continue on in the strategic planning process. I was gonna say I had a checkered past, but I should probably be a little bit careful about saying that. But I will say, my path to this particular project, I was a banker for a while. I wasn't the happiest banker. Then I worked in not-for-profit organizations for 13 years. That was wonderful, but with 3 young children at home, my wife encouraged a career adjustment. And then I've worked with some really wonderful Kansas City companies in DST Systems and Kansas City Southern Railroad, mainly in human resources. And at this particular moment in my career, I have one of the better jobs in the world because I get to go and listen to people and to engage with them in conversations about what they care about and try and help their organizations be even more effective. I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Jim, could you just give a little, when can the trustees expect to hear from us about scheduling an appointment?
Yeah, you should start hearing from us within the next couple of weeks in terms of not intending that you'll have a meeting in the next couple of weeks, but hearing from somebody, actually probably from Teresa, as a matter of fact. Either Teresa or somebody from my team, just trying to get a time set up. You can look forward to those sessions being about an hour. We're going to try not to take up too much time, but we really wanted to get everybody's input right up front, along with, I think, as Wade said, we'll not just be doing trustee interviews, but we'll be doing some focus groups, some community partner interviews. We're going to be doing interviews and surveying with staff. And we're also going to be interviewing our customers, and we're going to try some novel ways of finding out how to communicate with our non-customers, just folks out in the community that we would like to connect with. So that's the process. That's all we've engaged Praxis for at this point, is the data collection piece. And then as that piece comes to a close, we'll start thinking about what the actual planning looks like beyond that.
Thanks, Jim. Thanks, Wade.
Great. I appreciate your time. Thank you.
All right. Give you an applause too. Yeah. It's a nice new. Interview next. Okay, so we have 2 reports here. The ad hoc HQ study committee did meet. However, we will discuss the details of that meeting in closed session, and that's later on in the agenda. And our deputy director, Susan Ray, will give us an update on some of the work that's being done on the capital side, capital maintenance side.
Yep.
And I will turn it over to you, Susan.
Thank you. Facilities is running from place to place, as you might imagine. To start with, Colburn Road, the permits for the entrances was let last week. We've got those. The construction team has met with the city of Lee Summit and had a kickoff meeting. And for that, Will Pave, who is the contractor who got that, who is going to do the work, is tentatively scheduled to complete the Colburn Road side entrance by mid-October. The west entrance, there is a sectionizer box that Evergy has to move before any work can be done on that side. Evergy has been contacted, and we're at their mercy right now for them to move that. But in the meantime, they're moving ahead with the Colburn Road entrance to at least be able to make a left-hand turn if you're going east. The Antioch parking lot was budgeted to be done this year as well.
Wow.
Those bids were due last week, and a verbal award was given yesterday. It came in at about $255,000. We had budgeted $425,000, so that's significantly less. And the reason that it is less is 1/3, we do not have to take out the entire parking lot. 1/3 of it does not have a sub base. So we will be removing that. And then the other 2/3, we just have to take off the top layer and mill it and replace it. So for some reason, part of the parking lot had a sub base and part of it did not. So we're going to make those adjustments. I talked with Aaron Gordon, about opening and was that going to close the branch? They're going to work in shifts. So as they do the third that does, that has to have the full sub-base placement, we will not have to close. If we do have to close for the rest of it, it'll be for a day or two, but it should not impact service at that location for the long term. Along with the parking lot, there's going to be additional drainage, and a new pole light and some curbing that's going to be done along with that. The Midwest Genealogy roof is also going to be replaced. The RFP for that has gone out and is due back in the 1st of October. Completion will be in spring. It'll depend on the vendor, their schedule, their capacity, obviously winter weather. But it should be done in the spring regardless of that. I don't have a solid date. The North Independence parking lot, we're reconfiguring that because since the 24 highway entrance has been closed due to the construction on the highway, people are turning onto Spring, which is across the street, the same street as the fire station. And in our one-way exit, if you go through the drive-through and it's a one-way exit onto Spring, people are actually coming in. So to alleviate some of that potential crashes and hazards, we are going to reconfigure the parking lot. So there's two-way traffic down through there. We will lose some parking spots, but the size of that parking lot is more than sufficient. So it shouldn't be too bad. Right now, we are getting drawings. And once we have the drawings, then we have to go through the city for permitting in order to move on with that. And Farview, this project is actually done. We partnered with Community Services League in the school district to repave an egress on the north side. I'm not sure what's the road curves. I'm not sure what side of it is, but anyway, what it will allow is a better entrance for our vehicles and any delivery vehicles that Community Services League has for their food pantry. That is completed. It was about $9,000 and the three organizations split that cost. Fort Osage actually did the work and then we just contributed to the cost of that. So that is done.
I could interject there. That project in particular is a perfect example of what partnerships look like. One day, I think you and I were out there, maybe I was talking to Tammy and who runs the pantry, and Tammy said, what would be great, is we had this paved apron, so the delivery drivers don't have to park up the street. We come back, Susan puts out a call to our partners, and literally in less than 24 hours, all had agreed to do that work and to share in the cost of it, and we got it completed in no time. So great job there, and thanks to our partners for
That was one of the quicker
cost.
projects we've done.
Yeah.
That's
great.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Susan. We'll do that at the end.
So, financial reports, Jeremy?
Yes, good evening. Excuse me. My reports tonight are focusing on the first 2 months of our fiscal year. We do have more detail that is available on board docs on our website for specific data for both July and August, but in interest of time, we're just going to talk about year to date tonight. So the first slide you see is our tax slide. The library has collected $457,000 in tax revenue for the first 2 months of our fiscal year. The same time frame last fiscal year, we had collected $753,000. We don't believe this is cause for panic. We really think it's more of a timing issue. We're in the delinquent phase of the tax cycle right now, so people are paying, as they can and when they see fit to come current on any back taxes they have, and then the three counties remit what they have on hand to us once a month. And so it's really more a matter of timing than it is an actual concern for revenue. Moving on to the next slide. This is our cash analysis. And I realize that these colors might not be the best for broadcasting, so I'm going to work on that to see if I can get some more bold colors for you. But the top line, as it were, that blue line is looking at 3 fiscal years ago. The purple line is the current fiscal year that blends into yellow for our projection. The line under that, the orange line, is 2 fiscal years ago, and then that green line is the last fiscal year. Why this is important, you can see we've made a marked improvement in our cash position from last fiscal year to this fiscal year. So last fiscal year, we had cash of about just over $27 million in all of our funds combined. This year, happy to report that our cash is over $35.6 million. So we've made about an $8 million improvement to cash. And why that's important, for those of you who've been on the board for a long time, you know that over the last several fiscal years, we've had to borrow money from the bank to get us sort of a bridge loan from the end of November until our first tax payment. We don't believe that we're going to need that this year. Over the last several years, we've been restoring that cash balance slowly and surely. And as you can see now, we started this fiscal year in the second best position out of the last 3 fiscal years. And like I said, about an $8 million jump from the prior fiscal year. So we feel like we've got a few investments that are going to come due between now and December, and between the cash we have on hand and that cash, our projected expenditures, we don't believe we'll need to borrow money. So last year we borrowed, I believe, $3 million, and we paid around $60,000 for that. So we believe we're going to save that expenditure this year by utilizing the cash and the investments that we have on here. You want to flip to the next slide? Actually, I'm sorry, could you flip back real quick? I also wanted to point out, again, this has been a discussion in the last several budgets that I've been a part of. But we have, as you can see on this graph, just a large shift in the amount of cash payments, the tax payments that we receive in our fiscal year. And so in our current fiscal year, running July 1st to June 30th, we're basically spending cash from July 1 to December 1. Then we get our tax payment December 1 through February, and then we start spending cash again after February. So thankfully, the state legislature this year moved to allow you all to reset the fiscal year, should you so decide to do. And we plan to bring a plan later this fall to the Finance Committee for their consideration, and ultimately, hopefully for your consideration, that would better align our fiscal year to our tax year, so that we're not looking at these large swings in cash at the end of our fiscal year. You'll finally get to a real sense for what I would consider the library's actual savings account, rather than cash reserve that's needed for operations to get us to the next tax payment. So I just wanted to point that out, that the legislature passed that bill. We will be bringing something for your attention before we start the next budget cycle. Moving on to the next slide, this is a look at the general fund. The general fund has collected $817,000 roughly, about 90% of what we had projected. Again, that has more to do with tax timing than it does anything that we're concerned about. Our expenditures are just over $10 million, about 81% of what we had projected during our budget cycle. So we currently have a cash or an operating deficit year to date of just over or just under 9.2 million. Again, that's why it's important that we have the cash reserves to get us from the beginning of our fiscal year to our first tax payment. The next slide should be the health insurance fund. Yes, and the health insurance fund has collected just over $897,000 and has expenditures of just over $461,000. So we have an operating surplus so far in the health insurance fund of $436,000. So those are all of the financial details that I have for you tonight. But before we finish, I just wanted to share a few other things. Typically in September is when the audit is presented to the board. Unfortunately, we're a little bit behind on our audit this year due to some staffing turnover that happened in our department earlier this year. And so we're working with the auditors. We believe that we'll have the audit completed before the September 30th deadline, which is a statutory requirement to have the audit submitted to the state. And so our plan right now is for us to present the audit to the Finance and Audit Committee in October. and then to the full board in October as well. And with that, I'll be happy to answer any questions that you all may have.
Thank you. Any questions? Any? Okay. Unfinished business,
Nothing to report.
nothing?
Next
We
slide.
skip item 7.
What's that?
Did we skip item 7?
Um,
No, new business.
Well, no, it was on this agenda, it says board committee.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it,
those were only the ad hoc committee met, but we'll talk about. that
Okay,
during
okay.
closed session.
Okay.
All right. So, Jeremy, do you want to?
Hello again.
Hello again.
Hello, Dan.
Putting on a different hat now. Back in 2018, the library issued debt called a certificate of participation. We discussed briefly during the budget presentation that these bonds have a call date. And so we've been running analysis with our financial advisor, Stiefel, who's here tonight to discuss that with you. But what I want to just point out before they get started is everything is preliminary and based on where the economy stands today, meaning if you all agree with us that refinancing the debt makes the most financial sense for the library moving forward, and something in the financial picture changes between now and the day of the actual sale, we can just stop the whole process and keep our current debt. So tonight is not a hard start, hard go. You know, it's really just wanting to make sure that you all agree that refinancing is in the best interest now, and that will allow us to continue our due diligence between now and November when that sale would occur. So the presentation you have before you that they're going to present on is based on what we're estimating as of the financial position right now. With that, I'll turn it over to Connor with Steve.
Good evening, everyone. With you, Jeremy. As you mentioned, my name is Connor Swanson with Stiefel. We serve as the library's financial advisor. Some of you guys might remember my colleague, Michael Short. He helped with that 2018 deal. Unfortunately, he is in Europe right now on vacation, so he couldn't make it, but I'm here instead. So yeah, tough for him. Yeah, I know. Joining with me tonight is Rick McConnell, the library's bond counsel. He's with Two-Tack Rock, and he'll go over the resolution here in a couple minutes. Since some of you guys, I think, are new since the 2018 bond deal, I figured I'd put together a quick bond 101 to kind of go over, what is a bond, why you guys issue bonds, things like that. Perfect. Can you go to the next slide, please? And so a bond, and I won't read through all this for you, but a bond in its simplest form is an IOU. If a municipality needs to borrow money to build something, or in this case, if you think your outstanding debt is at a higher rate than you could borrow now, you can refund that debt. It's an IOU, so you would borrow money from investors and then with the promise that we pay them back with interest at a future date. So that is kind of its simplest form. There comes in all sorts of shapes and sizes. There's general obligation bonds, which are supported by property taxes, and an ad valorem pledge. So basically you'll levy the property taxes to whatever you need to pay the bonds. There's revenue bonds, which you'll typically see for things like water and sewer, where you guys will, there'll be a charge in your guys' sewage bill or water bill that comes in and they'll pay the debt. What the library used in 2018 was called a certificate of participation, which was a lease-backed debt. In a couple slides, I'll go over that, but essentially think of it like a mortgage. You guys are leasing out property of the library, and that's the security behind the bonds. So you sell that to investors when the investors use that as a pledge saying, okay, they're not going to default on this because, they want to keep the library. So that's kind of the idea behind it. So those are kind of the few the securities behind it. And at the bottom, I just thought it was a fun fact. The tax-exempt bond space is a very, very large place with over 4 trillion bonds in the marketplace. Go to the next slide, please. So here's a quick little process slide over a bond issue. So bonds don't just come out of thin air. So when a board or staff or a financial advisor comes up with an idea that says, hey, the library needs to build, a new branch or renovate something. And it's, maybe there's not really in the budget, we think we can borrow, then it's, you guys will call us and we go through a bond. So if a governing body proposes a new capital project, or in this case, if staff and their financial advisor looked at your old debt and said, hey, there might be a funding opportunity here. That's kind of where we get the ball rolling with this. And so what we've done in the past, or kind of steps before this, is put together a calendar and did some preliminary due diligence where we ran numbers to confirm our thoughts that, hey, this refunding actually is going to hopefully save money in a couple months. And then step 3 is actually we're here tonight where we're up in front of the governing body to get your guys' intent to move forward with some more due diligence, like Jeremy mentioned. This doesn't lock you into doing anything if, and hopefully this, knock on wood, doesn't happen. But if rates, shoot way up in a month or two and the refunding doesn't work anymore, you guys are not locked in to do it. We can just throw it out and wait until rates hopefully go back lower. Knock on wood. So that's where we're at tonight. And then if you guys approve the resolution to move forward, we'll work some more due diligence. And that's where Rick and his team will come in. They'll draft the preliminary official statement, which is what you use to sell the bonds to investors, and other legal documents just to make sure that we do everything in accordance with state law. So after that step, we'll sell the bonds. So we'll hire an underwriter, which will also come back. We'll touch on that in a little bit, but we'll come back to your guys' October meeting to present some selections for underwriter, hopefully. And then once we select them, their job is to sell the bonds. So they'll talk to investors, banks, local residents, insurance companies, anything to think of. And they'll market the bonds and sell them, hopefully, and get you guys the best rate possible. After that, we'll come back and we'll say, hey, your rates are locked in for this refunding, you're saving X%. And then you guys will give the green light to move forward with it. And then after that, Rick and us will work on finalizing the bond documents and then working until closing. That's kind of a quick overview of it. And then on the next slide is just a kind of example of how a bond issue works. So that top blue bar between you and the underwriter, you guys issue bonds, you give them to the underwriter to sell. The next line between the underwriter and the bondholder, the underwriter then sells the bonds to investors. The investors give the underwriter money. Then the middle line going diagonally between the underwriter and the trustee, the underwriter will then send that money that they got from investors from selling your bonds to the trustee, which is a third party that will essentially help you guys will funnel payments through them to pay these bondholders. Because if you didn't, bonds are bought by, like I mentioned, fortunately, and there's hundreds of investors that could buy your bonds. So if you didn't have a trustee, you'd have to go, pay 100 people 6 times, every semi-annually. So the trustee helps you with that, and they also keep your guys' project funds and things like that. So the trustee will hold your guys' funds, and then you'll make payments semi-annually to the trustee, and the trustee will then relay those payments to the investors. So that's just kind of how a typical bond works. And then I won't touch on this too much. Here are kind of the major participants right now. We're your financial advisor. We give you guys advice and we have a fiduciary responsibility to you. Rick is your guys' bond counsel. Like I mentioned, so he'll draft all the legal documents for a bond issue, and then make sure you guys, stay in accordance with state and federal law and tax code and things like that. And then the underwriter will be the person selling the bonds. So they have a duty to basically do fair trade. So get you the best they can in the market at that time. Next slide, please. Thank you. All right. So here is kind of what we wanted to talk about tonight. This is your guys' outstanding deal. You have one outstanding issuance, like Jeremy mentioned, it's your 2018 certificates. This was the result of the Proposition L that was in 2016, I believe. And so it touched, I think, every branch in the library district. What I put at the bottom, like I mentioned, their leaseback debt. Those are the 10 branches that are used as collateral for the debt. And it was originally issued at about 73 million in par. There's about 47 million outstanding, and then 43.7 of that is callable right now. And what that means is when you sell bonds, you have what's called a call date on them, and that's a lockout period. So investors know, in this case, it was 8 years. For 8 years, I know I'm going to get my interest payments on this debt. After the call date, investors know that the library, if interest rates are lower like they are, and hopefully will stay, that you guys could refund that old debt with new debt at a lower interest rate. And so they'll get paid back on the principal, and then you guys won't have to pay any interest. And so that is what that call date is, and why we're kind of the important date, that it's March of 2026. So that means you can refund those within 90 days of that date. That's why we're here tonight, to hopefully kind of get that process rolling. Hopefully sell these later this fall and then close in the winter. All right. And then on this slide is a kind of a brief overview of each of those maturities that you guys have outstanding. And I tried to color code the chart to show what is, saving money right now and what's not. So what's in green, you can see it as paying interest at 5%. That is above where we think the rates could be if we refunded it right now, and it's saving you guys money at about, well, not gonna be about couple million, about 3 million or so. Right now, the last two maturities of your debt were sold with lower coupon, lower interest payments at 4 and 3.625%. Those we ran some analysis on right now, and we're not seeing that they're saving money for you guys quite yet. The 4% is pretty close. If you can see, it's only leaving about 1%. So we're going to continue to monitor those, and then if, hopefully by the fall rates will decline and then they'll make more sense and they'll save you guys money and we can include them. But right now, we're not suggesting that you guys refund those two maturities at a loss. We're just saying you should refund what's in green currently. And then this next slide shows the overview of refunding what was each of those maturities in green on that prior table. So right now, that would be about 36.4 million of prior debt, and we would issue about 33 million of new debt to refund that. And that would result in about 3 million in savings for the library, which is about 300,000 over the next 10 years. And it's about 7% on a present value basis. So that means it's just discounting the cash flows back to the present day. GFOA recommends that you proceed with your fundings, and I think it's over 2 or 3%. So 7% is a pretty good rate right now. And on this next slide is just, I pulled this from our autonomous report from last week, so it's hopefully still accurate. But the thing I wanted to point out was the chart on the bottom left is the market consensus probability of Fed rate cuts. And so the Fed's meeting tomorrow, as you all know, and there's a pretty strong consensus that they're going to have a 25 basis point rate cut. We've actually seen that in our markets. The past week, we've seen rates drop by about 25 basis points. So investors are expecting that that's what they'll do tomorrow. The future bars show at their next couple of board meetings what the market thinks will happen. So we'll kind of monitor that, and hopefully rates will continue to drop as we get kind of further into the winter. And then with that was all I have. And I kind of went through that fairly quickly, save some time. If you guys have any questions over any of this?
I have a couple of questions.
Yeah.
I was one of the ones that were here.
Okay.
I think my signature went on the documents because I was board president at the time. My questions are, for clarification, you're basically proposing converting the prior certificates of participation into a general obligation.
No, so it's the security behind it will still be the same. That's a very good
So it's
question.
still
Yep.
a certificate of
Yeah, so
participation.
you'll be refunding refunding these certificates with refunding certificates of participation.
Okay, so
the
it'll be the
security,
same
yep,
thing.
the
It's just,
security that was those 10 buildings will still be the same.
okay, so it's just basically
Yep.
replacing it with another one
Yep.
at the
Yep.
current interest rate. Second question I have, given that it's the similar,
Mhm.
same process, would the call dates be the same, like 8
Yeah,
years?
so would you mind going back?
And would we be able to pay ahead if we had
This
the
one?
ability?
Yeah, so when you had issued the bonds in 2018, you issued 20-year bonds. So they went out to 2038. Since we're kind of further down the line now, and this is something that we'll discuss with staff and we'll come back with, since you're further down the line, you only have 12 years left on that debt. Typically you'll see call dates of about 10 years on bonds. In 2018, we pushed and got an 8-year call, which is benefiting us now. So we look at doing either a shorter call or maybe non-call, because if you do a 10-year call with that green, the only maturity you have left outstanding is that 2036. And so how our fundings work is the more you say, the longer the bonds are and that pay interest, the more you save on them. So with it only being outstanding for a couple months from when you could theoretically call it 10 years down the line, it might not save money. So that's something we'll look at with staff and come back to recommendations. So that's a good question. Any other questions? Yeah. I would say. I'm trying to do math within my head. I would say under 3%, probably about 2%. And as an example, your guys' 2018 deal, your underwriter charged you about $4 a bond, which is 0.4% of par. Added on with legal costs and things like that, you probably are around 1.5%, 2% if I had the ballpark it. And I'd say it'd probably be around that again this time.
But one thing also that might help is that if they.
Yes, that's a good point. Yep, yeah, and all costs would be built into the fine. The library wouldn't have to pay, 20,000 in out of pocket for it. Thank you all for your time.
Thank you, Connor.
Thank you.
Rick McConnell with Kutak Rock. I'll just briefly run through the resolution, but I was also here in 2018 and thank you for signing all those things. But I was thinking as we heard some of these great stories at that time, my wife and I had a 1 and 3-year-old and they were already going to the library in Parkville. And now they're 8 and 10 and they go and check out things that I don't really understand, but they're still going to the library. So it's a great story and so very pleased to work with y'all. So what this resolution really does is it's kind of the thumbs up, go forward resolution. It really doesn't commit you to anything other than let's go out and try to find an underwriter. And we will come back to you in the October meeting with a recommendation as to who that would be. And you approve it. And you will also approve the refinancing. You'll approve all the documents at subsequent meetings. But I think this is just a nice opportunity to have Connor's presentation and sort of kick it off and just to understand what's going on and ask some of those initial questions. So we basically just authorized an RFP for underwriting services and for staff and us and Connor and Michael, if he does actually come back from Europe, to try to bring this back to you in a successful way. So that's all we're doing. But happy to answer any questions.
All right.
So just to reiterate before you tonight is resolution, I just forgot the number. 25-005. And it's basically authorizing a few things. The first thing is it's directing Aaron and myself to work with Stiefel and with Kutak Rock to work on the documentation that will be needed should we go forward with the refunding. As they mentioned, we also issued an RFP for an underwriter, so we're going to bring that back to you in October. As Connor mentioned, the underwriter is the most significant cost of the refinancing process, and so we really want to get your buy-in on who that is. And then lastly, the resolution talks about that the final approval of any terms will come back to you before anything happens. So I believe the header of this resolution says it perfectly. We're really just asking for your permission to keep moving forward on this refinancing. But I or Sarah would be happy to answer any questions you have about the resolution. And if there aren't any, then I believe a motion would be in order.
Are we looking for a motion? on the-
Yes, should I read that? Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so, the recommended action is resolution number 25-005, authorizing and directing the executive director of the Consolidated Public Library District Number 3, AKA Mid-Continent Public Library, to pursue the refinancing of certain obligations previously issued by the district.
I'll move that.
So
I'll move that.
have a second.
You get a couple of comments there, real quick.
Take the roll call.
Yeah, discussion.
Any discussion? Bob?
No, I actually, I was pointing out the two other people at second. No, it's kind of from, I used, many years ago, I taught some principles of economics classes and when this comes back, I think, especially since it's just authorization for consideration, preparing something to give to us for a final project. I think we need to go forward authorizing our outside help entities to prepare some research for us to consider, to formally consider the original, some of the certificates that were issued in 2018.
Okay. Any other question, discussion? With that, we'll take a vote.
Trustee Burgo,
Aye.
trustee Johnson,
Aye.
trustee Young, trustee Lazio,
Yes.
trustee Lemunion,
Yes.
trustee Pandolfi,
Aye.
trustee Step,
Aye.
trustee Vivas, trustee Thompson,
Aye.
trustee Wilson, and trustee Wykoff.
Aye.
Right. Motion passed.
All right, next up, we have a resolution authorizing us to accept a grant that was awarded to the library by USDA. Diana, if you could just share a little bit of background about why we requested these funds from the government and what we're going to use them for, that'd be great.
The last year, the Department of Agriculture through the Missouri Department of Agriculture offered a grant program called Resilient Food Systems Infrastructure Program. And so we visited with the culinary kitchens. Originally, when the culinary kitchens were designed, they had several pieces of equipment that they had proposed that because of budget constraints weren't included. And so we were able to request that equipment through this grant. We did apply last year. The time frame was a little bit touch and go. And so they came back to us and said that actually we did receive the award. So the award is for $56,448 for 5 pieces of equipment. That's happy to provide you details about that equipment. It's basically equipment that will allow for processing of fruits and vegetables. And for processing of jams, jellies, and other value-added produce products. So essentially, Xander and his group are going to be working with the Kansas City Food Hub to work with several local farmers and nonprofits to help them come in and utilize this equipment. So it will benefit local nonprofits and schools by producing fresh fruits and vegetables to bring into those organizations. So I do have a synopsis that I'm happy to share. We're also happy to share the grant proposal itself, but it is an equipment only award.
Thank you, Diana.
Thank you, Diana.
Yeah, if I could just add, I'm not exactly sure what the library's practice has been historically with grants, but traditionally the governing body is the one that actually authorizes grants to be used. And since this grant was not on our radar at the time the budget was put together. It was not included in the budget that you all approved in June. And so in addition to authorizing the grant, this resolution is also authorizing the amendment of the budget so that the library staff has a spending authority that only you all can grant. Authorize grants that all.
Total amount is it 56,448? Although the recommended action says 57.
We said up to 57,000, just in case there were some variations in the
All right.
equipment costs.
We also like to keep the budget at round numbers. It's easier to make sure that nothing's missing, so.
Yeah.
Budget week for 57, the actual expenditures will be the amount we award.
All right.
And there we go back. Required.
No matching requirement on this grant.
So can I ask a question?
Oh, yeah.
So I'm just, I mean, that sounds like amazing, but, so it gives the processing equipment. And then is that for the public to be able to use or just different companies to come in and use that to process the?
So it's both. It's any client that uses the incubator side of the culinary kitchens. So it could be a farmer. In fact, Xander was nice enough to provide me with some examples. Four Grand's Gardens, they're producing apple butter with the equipment. Julianne Hemphill, elderberry farmer, she's producing jellies and jams and juices. Harrington Family Farms, jams and pickles. A beekeeper called Hive and Harvest. There's an egg farmer that's using it for bread production. But we are working with the Kansas City Food Hub, and they work with nonprofits like Catholic Charities, New Roots for Refugees, Cultivate Kansas City. And so they will actually bring in donated produce and use that. So it can be for individuals. It can be for organizations as well.
Sounds very amazing.
Yeah.
So I moved in the week that the U.S. Department of Agriculture, they grant the amount listed in the resolution. And also adopting amendments to fiscal year 2025 to 26 budget.
Okay.
Okay.
I just had one question. Do we want to identify the resolution number for clarity or? not?
Yeah. Going to,
I can read it.
so, recommended action. Resolution number 25-006. Authority, authorizing acceptance of funding. The United States Department of Agriculture, which will allocation of $57,000 to the library for equipment for the culinary kitchens and adopting amendments to the fiscal year 2025-26 budget.
Yeah, I think she said that.
Yeah. And
I think
one
she
way
said
or
that word for
another.
word.
See that? Oh, all right.
But that was most reading.
It was.
That's right. That's good.
Very good.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Okay, so I'll call the roll.
do we have a,
Yeah, we have a first and a second, Dr. Wilson and Trustee
have a
Burgo.
motion for that?
Can I please ask one question? You had said it was like 56,000 and some change. Does it need to say allocation up to 57,000 or are they gonna send us 57,000?
Trustee, this is Sarah. In the actual resolution itself, it does say up to. It's just the board this slide does not say up to. So it's up to 57,000 in the resolution itself.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Okay, any more discussion? No, okay, we'll take the call. Trustee Burgo,
Aye.
trustee Johnson,
Aye.
trustee Young, trustee Lazio,
Yes,
trustee Lemunion,
Yes.
trustee Pandolfi,
Aye.
trustee Step,
Aye.
trustee Thebes, trustee Thompson,
Aye.
trustee Wilson, trustee Wykoff.
Yes.
Motion carries.
So we have a election of Mo Loggers employee representative.
There's a question.
Um,
Did you have a question?
Mo Loggers.
It's the Missouri.
So.
I'm
I don't
not
know
as
that I know
familiar with the
acronym.
acronym,
It's
but
the-
it's a Missouri retirement system that we utilize for our
It's
employees.
for local entities.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Mostly made up of first responders and library in our case.
Well, yeah.
so, do I need to read that whole thing?
Yes, if you'd like to do that and
Okay.
kind of talk about,
So before I read it, I have talked to, trustee Virgo and, Michelle about them serving again in these same capacities. And they both said yes, that they would. So Joycelyn will serve as the elected, representative, and, Michelle Wyckoff will be the alternative, and they've served these before. So, being the president, Michael Lazio will entertain a motion to nominate a member of the board as the MCPL employee representative of the Mo Loggers annual meeting and be the designated MCPL employee representative for the next 12 months. The board member, Joycelyn Virgo, is elected as the MCPL employee representative, and Michelle Wyckoff is appointed as the alternative.
Second.
Do
Thought that
we
was-
have a,
I think that's what.
yeah, okay,
I
any
second.
discussion?
all right, we have a motion and a second.
Is there any discussion? No? Okay, I'll take the call and vote. Trustee Burgo,
Aye.
trustee Johnson.
Aye.
Trustee Young, trustee Lazio,
Yes,
trustee Lemunion,
Aye.
trustee Pandolfi,
Aye.
trustee Stapp,
Aye.
trustee Thebes, trustee Thompson,
aye,
trustee Wilson, and trustee Wyckoff.
Aye.
That motion carries. And just for clarity, I can give you what the loggers means. It is the Missouri Local Government Employees Retirement System. Okay. Okay.
all righty then.
All right, so we go to the next slide. Oh, there isn't any, I'm sorry.
Guess nothing yet.
I'll turn it over to Jeremy. Now is the time of year where we certify a levy, and Jeremy, if you could take it away.
Very good. You can go ahead and next slide. So again, attached to board docs is a memo. Hopefully will serve as a reminder for those who've been on the board for a while and possibly new information for our newer members. But essentially the state's levy setting process and our budget setting process are done at different times of the year. So during the budget setting process, we held a public hearing for the levy based on our projected or preliminary assessed valuation estimates. In the month of September, we received the actual certified levy value, or sorry, certified assessed valuation values from the three counties. We then performed the Hancock calculation and submit that to the state auditor. They yesterday agreed with our math, and so the levy is now ready for your consideration based on our budget, the assessed valuation of the three counties. I'll just go through this first slide. So the real estate value is increasing by 1.27 billion, or about a little over 7.5% compared to the last valuation. Personal property is decreasing 88.69 million, or a little less than 2.5% from last year's value. And that's what you see when you compare the certified value for 2023 with the certified value for 2024. Then in that memo, we go on to explain that the levy rate for the current tax year, 2025, with the Hancock calculation is 3119. Our current levy is 3152. So because the value is going up, the levy is rolling back to make sure that the revenue is only increasing per the Hancock Hancock law. So just want to point out, I think on the next slide, looking at the revenues, that assessed valuation has grown about 7.38 billion or 47% since 2019. However, revenues have grown 14.36 million or 25%. And this is just, again, illustrating that the Hancock Amendment is actually working. As valuations are increasing, the levy is being rolled back. And so revenues are only growing at the allowable rate under Hancock, which is the lesser of 5% or CPI or actual growth. So if your actual growth is over 5% and CPI is over 5%, there's a 5% lid on valuation. If the consumer price index, CPI, or your actual growth is less than 5%, it's whatever that lowest number is. So of those three numbers, whatever the lowest one is, that's your revenue growth for the next year. And that's why our revenue is being restricted by the consumer price index and not the 5% lid. So I believe those are all of the comments I have, but I'd be happy to answer any questions that you all have. And I think the resolution is the next slide. Well, the tax year and our budget year did not align. So all of these documents are the tax year, not the budget. It won't impact the tax year at all. Essentially, if you all decide to extend our current fiscal year beyond June 30th to another date, we'll just be spending down that cash reserve that you see in our audit at June 30. There's a little bit of revenue that comes in. People pay delinquent throughout the year. So we get a little bit of revenue, but the lion's share of the money that we end the year with, we spend by November 1st. So whatever that new fiscal year is, we'll essentially be amending the budget, not to add revenue, but to spend fund balance. On average, like people, and so we can go on for years. Some of that we are 10,000 months. In delinquency? Yeah, delinquency. It's really difficult to average. I would say that I've seen it around 300,000 in most months, but some months are under 100. So it really just depends on when people write the check and when the county remits that money to the taxing entities. But the majority of the taxes that we receive are December, January, and a little bit in February. And does some of the counties still provide subscription? No. Yeah, no, what we receive is usually it's one page and it'll say, this is current property tax, this is delinquent property tax, this is current personal property, this is delinquent personal. And then this is interest that we've collected over the last however many days. Yep.
So. No. We have a next slide for the, or are we, what are we doing here? Yeah.
Well, if there's no more
We'll get
questions,
another
then
slide.
this resolution would be in order.
There we go. Okay. So, recommended action. Motion to approve, resolution number 25-004, certifying the Mid-Continent Public Library property tax rate at 0.3119 for the fiscal year 2025 and 2026. So,
Can I just ask,
yes.
this may just be a typo, but at the bottom of the resolution, it says for the general purposes for the 2024 tax year?
That is a typo.
There you go.
I will fix
All
that.
right, carry on.
Good catch.
Yeah.
I see that.
I just had, Mr.
So
Chair.
do we have a motion?
Yeah,
Yeah, we have a first and a second. It was just discussion, I think.
Yeah,
Uh,
I just had it on discussion.
Yes, discussion. Yeah, sorry, Bob.
So, oh, no problem. So as you're talking to your county constituents, that's 31.19 cents per $100 of assessed valuation. That 0.3119, if you want to generally talk, if somebody asks you about it, which generally they're not, but that's 31.19 cents per $100 of assessed valuation.
Right.
I haven't been asking anybody for 2 years that no one's asked me what it really is, but that's what it is. You want to know? And for general purposes, because of Lee Summit, assessed valuation, I think the county, the Jackson County reassessment appeals, now they're working on 2023 appeals. Well, I know that's the case. Okay.
I've got a question. So
Yes.
if it's appealed, so Bob, do you know what happens? Do you, I mean, do you pay your tax?
Yes,
Do you
yes,
pay it and
great.
then?
That's a great question. Yes,
wait?
it is. You pay your taxes as mailed to you, your tax statement. And then whatever happens on the appeal, one way or another, then it's in Jackson County, it's adjusted backwards. If the county owes in the aggregate owes something back, then they will send that difference back to you. And, but that's right. It's, even though it's 2 years later, the county will have to, and its political subdivisions will have to refund the difference.
Well, that's what I figured they'd have to pay, but just
Yeah.
wanted to make sure.
Any other discussion, questions? All right, we have a motion.
I'll call the roll. Trustee Burgo,
Right.
trustee Johnson.
Aye.
Trustee Lazio,
Yes.
sorry, trustee Young, trustee Lemunion,
Aye.
trustee Pandolfi,
I,
trustee Step. Aye. Trustee Thewas, trustee Thompson,
Aye.
trustee Wilson, and trustee Wykoff.
Aye, sorry, couldn't get unmuted.
Okay, thank you. The motion carries.
All right. Motion carries.
All right, next up is something fun. And our beloved Jim Staley is going to get up and talk about the wonderful annual report that he produced. And I mean that with all seriousness.
Yes.
It's beautifully designed, and I think it paints a very clear picture of what we achieved in the last year. So Jim?
Yeah, all right, if everybody wants to grab these, it looks like most everybody got one already. Oh, Brian, can you hear me okay. All right, so yeah, as you all know, every year we are statutorily required to produce an annual report. The part that is statutory is actually the part in the back that has the financials, and you have to turn that into our 3 counties, into our jurisdictions. But we always take the opportunity to talk about all the great things the library system had done during the year. So I'm not going to go through this page by page, but I do want to hit a few highlights. the whole idea is to talk about the programs, services, as well as some of the events that have taken place during the year. Serves as kind of a small yearbook. This is also, we can always get people versions of these. We like to take these out, if we're talking to a legislator, if we're talking to anybody, this is a nice way to encapsulate what the library does. So I'll turn your attention here, kind of the second page. Well, I don't want to miss the lovely letters written by our board president and our executive director, but also, but if you go on to the next page there, I would encourage everybody to read those letters at your leisure. But there's so many important things we do during the year, but early literacy is obviously right up at the top of the list. 21,000 kids, you can see there participating in the summer reading program last year. Just really, really huge numbers and really important things. So as you go through, you can see some of the other, we've got highlights from Square One, the small business program. We've got highlights from the culinary kitchen. I know somebody who has made their featured recipe of the year, the brown sugar and butter cookies. Supposedly they are very good, but they don't look exactly like those cookies. So if you make them, they won't. Yeah, they won't look exactly like that apparently, but they are very good. And one new section this year I did want to highlight at the next page, the spaces for connection. We've really started to talk about and highlight the idea that the library is this space for people to come, for people to connect. And so a number we've not had in there before is those room reservation numbers. 62,000 meeting room reservation and 3,000 community room reservation. Now the community rooms are the big ones. The meeting rooms are the smaller ones. And those community rooms, there's been some library policy change over the last year to lessen the burden of cost on organization and people out in the community. And that has really started to raise that number of people using those rooms. If you keep going, Brian, our digital innovation program, we've continued to work on that. I would definitely suggest, I didn't mention those QR codes on a lot of the pages, take you to videos. You can watch some videos about different programs that have happened during the year. And there's a good one about all the things the digital innovation group has done. And then if you go to the next page, Brian, we also like to highlight our community partners. We've done some things with the American Heart Association, with WonderScope. And we've got a really nice quote from a local educator on this page as well. Keep going, Brian. We really needed to highlight the author programs this year. We brought in, some really big authors, from James Patterson to Julia Quinn. And this is an appropriate place to point out, see the little gift right there in the red, like a little yellow, little present. You'll see those throughout this book, and those indicate places where private funding of some sort helped us put on that program. So you'll see Diana and her department's hard work all over this thing. They actually have their own page here in a little bit, but those little gifts are important. Keep going, Brian. We've also got genealogy and a fun event over here, archiving the Inglewood Theater's past. That's another one with a great video QR code. The Story Center is on the next page. And actually an original piece in the green over there that appeared in one of their publications. So again, that's another thing I would read. And then the next page is something we haven't done before, and I was excited about. We have taken to, the MCPL monthly you get, we recognize staff within it, but we've never done that in the annual report before. And this year we did. You can see Jacqueline, one of our associate directors of public service, who's been here 25 years. But if you look over to the right, you'll see all of these folks who celebrated major anniversaries in the library system. And that kind of longevity really says a lot about folks' dedication.
Teresa.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
Worked here her entire life. So. All right, so the next page there, here's what I promised. Here's Diana's team's work in action. Almost $1 million raised. And what I think is important though, when you go back and look through the gifts, you see all the different places where those dollars land. And then there's two more things that I really want to highlight. We talk about the numbers. It's such big numbers in a system like this. But I think when you break it down to the typical day, it really tells you a lot. You look at the physical items and the digital items, that's almost 30,000 checkouts a day. So that's folks in our system getting materials, reading for knowledge, reading for pleasure, all of those kinds of things. And it's happening a lot every single day. And then the financials are on the next page. But that's Jeremy's territory. You all can see that, and you'll probably be going over a version of these numbers again next month. So I want to skip to the last page, which is I'm curious if anybody noticed as we went through the other pages, the little slivers of artwork on every page. Well, every one of those is a piece of one of these pieces of artwork in the back. And these pieces of artwork were all created and displayed through library programs. We've done a lot more work around the arts over the last year, extending into this year. And you can see there are a lot of talented people in our library district. And they're making some beautiful art, and we're happy to be able to help them do so. So that is the annual report, and I'm happy to take any questions.
This is awesome.
Thank you.
This is
Yeah.
really cool.
Yeah.
I mean, annual reports are kind of boring. This is
Very
cool.
creative.
Yeah.
And
Well-
Diana, thank you for all your help with fundraising. It's just absolutely cool.
Yeah, our team did a very good job. He said I put this together. I didn't know.
What a great job. I mean, Diana and everyone involved, Jim, you guys are amazing. I mean, this is really class stuff right here. Love it.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Yes.
Oh, wait a minute, I'm sorry. Sorry. If you are on the back, I should have mentioned, actually goes to an online version. It's our digital year in review.
Okay.
And that one features all the video pieces as you scroll through it as well. So
Nice.
there's a lot to see there, a lot of additional information.
Wow. All right. So the annual report, fiscal year 2024-25. Recommended action, staff recommends the motion to adopt the fiscal year 2024-25 annual report.
I move we adopt.
Yes. Vote.
Trustee Burgo,
Aye.
trustee Johnson.
Aye.
Trustee Young,
Aye.
trustee Lazio.
Yes.
Trustee Lemunion,
Aye.
trustee Pandolfi,
Aye.
trustee Step.
Aye.
Trustee Beavis, trustee Thompson,
Aye.
trustee Wilson, trustee Wyckoff.
Aye.
Motion carries.
All right. Okay, so we spent a lot of time with each other today, so I'll make this brief. We have a lovely MCPL monthly that you could take a look at. On the back highlights one program that we want to make you aware of, which is Author Mitch Album will be coming to Woodneath. Diana, if you want to briefly just tell us about that program. And if you could step to the mic, if you could step to the mic. 'Cause we have
Well, you
others.
didn't call me beloved like you did for Jim, so I thought I could just sit down.
My beloved Diana.
Okay. So we're very excited to be hosting Mitch Albom. He is a very well-known author, sports journalist, philanthropist, very interesting guy if you have a chance to look at his website or if you've read any of his books. So he will be coming on the afternoon of October 12th. He'll be speaking at the auditorium at Woodneath at 2 p.m. And we're particularly excited because his brand new book, Twice, is being released on October 7th, and we get him on the 12th. So that's the perfect amount of time to read that book before, they're typically pretty easy reads before he comes. So again, as Jim pointed out, this event is underwritten by private funds. So we're excited to allow our library lovers, which all of you are members, first priority registration for this event. So if you would like to bring guests to this, we are more than happy to reserve your seats. We would just ask that you let us know by the 25th of September, because then we open it up to the public. And we anticipate these seats will be gone in under 10 minutes. Based on prior experience, we're pretty sure that that's going to be happening. And so each attendee will also receive a free book, complimentary copy of the book, and Mr. Albom will sign the books after the presentation. Any other questions? Yeah, great.
Thank you, Diana.
Let me know if you'd like to attend, or Annie Crawford's email address is on the back. You can email her before the 25th.
I believe I'm already registered.
Yes.
Also in your packet for today is a publication from the Story Center, and this is truly an amazing publication.
Yeah.
It's micro essays from Woodneath, and by micro, we really mean it. They're short, just a handful of paragraphs, but it's wonderful work. It demonstrates the great work that the Woodneath staff's doing and the great talent that we have here in the region. So I encourage you all to take a look at that. And then lastly, I want to talk, we'll move on to the next one, this Leather Scholarship Award. We awarded it to a bright staff member named Madison Henson, and she wrote a lovely letter of interest for us that you can see. It's attached in the in board docs, and I won't read it in its entirety, but nonetheless, it was very moving. Madison is someone with a wonderful life experience up until this point. I believe she taught English overseas in South Korea, and she's done a number of exciting things. And I think she's on track to becoming a stellar librarian. So this award is given in honor of people who are pursuing their MLIS, and Madison was awarded $2,000 towards the cost of her tuition at which school? Do you remember, Susan?
She's at San Jose.
San Jose. Okay.
It's an online program.
Right. So we're happy, and we'll talk more about this later in the year, but I really think this is an important award that we give every year. The amount in our account is fixed, and we'll be making a drive to replenish that account so we can continue to give this award on into the future. So thank you, Diana, for your help there, and Susan, you both were very helpful, and congratulations, Madison, on this award. All righty. That concludes my remarks. And at this point, we will go into closed session to just discuss a couple things briefly.
I think that requires a vote.
Oh, it does.
So we will go into closed session as permitted under our RSMO 610.021. Recommended action, motion to go into closed session pursuant to section 610-021. Number one, communication between the board and its attorney. Number two, purchase of real estate. Number three, matters personnel. And 13, personal records, performance ratings, or records pertaining to employees. So we'll motion.
I'll second.
Okay. Teresa.
Trustee Bergo.
Aye.
Sorry. Trustee Johnson.
Aye.
Trustee Young.
Aye.
Trustee Lazio.
Yes.
Trustee Lemunion.
Yes.
Dolphy.
Aye.
Trustee Step. Aye. Trustee Thewas. Trustee Thompson.
Aye.
Trustee Wilson and trustee Wyckoff.
Aye.